I want to talk to you today about something that weighs heavy on a lot of hearts. Something that keeps people awake at night, scrolling through their phones, wondering if they missed their moment. I'm talking about age and love. And I want to tell you something that might surprise you. Something that goes against everything the world has been shouting at you. Your age is not the problem. I know that sounds simple, maybe even too simple, but stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you comes from years of watching people torture themselves over a number, over a timeline that was never written in stone to begin with. See, somewhere along the way, we started believing that love comes with an expiration date, that if you haven't found it by 25, you're behind. If you're 30 and still single, something must be wrong with you. 40 and unmarried, people start whispering. 50 and starting over, the world acts like your story is finished. But I want you to hear this clearly. God does not operate on the world's calendar. He never has, and he never will. When I look at Scripture, I see a pattern that should bring us so much peace. I see a God who is never in a hurry, who works in his own time, who brings things to pass when they're meant to be, not when we demand them. Abraham didn't become a father until he was 100 years old. 100! Can you imagine waiting that long for a promise? Can you imagine how many people must have looked at him and Sarah and thought, it's over for them? But God had a different plan, a better plan, one that required patience and trust that most of us can't even comprehend. Moses didn't begin his real life's work until he was 80. 80 years old, and that's when God said, now you're ready. Not in his 20s when he was strong and confident, not in his 40s when he had the most energy, but at 80, when the world would have written him off completely. And if we're honest, that should tell us everything we need to know about God's timing versus our own. The Bible is full of late bloomers, full of people who found their purpose, their calling, their love, their fulfillment long after society said they should have. Ruth was a widow who had already experienced marriage and loss. She wasn't a young girl dreaming of her first love. She was a woman who had known heartbreak, who had buried a husband, who was starting over in a foreign land with nothing but her faith and her loyalty to Naomi. And yet, it was in that season of starting over, in that season of rebuilding, that she met Boaz. It was in her maturity, in her willingness to work hard and trust God, that she found a love that would bless generations. Her story became part of the lineage of Jesus Christ himself. That's not a small thing. That's not a consolation prize. That's a demonstration of how God redeems every season of our lives, including the ones we thought were lost. I think about the woman at the well in John chapter 4. Jesus met her in the middle of the day, and she had been married 5 times. 5 times! And the man she was with when Jesus met her wasn't even her husband. Now, I don't know how old she was, but I know this. She wasn't a teenager experiencing her first heartbreak. She was someone who had lived, who had loved, who had failed, who had been rejected and had probably rejected herself 1,000 times over. And yet when Jesus spoke to her, he didn't shame her. He didn't tell her she was too damaged, too old, too far gone. He offered her living water. He offered her a new beginning. He saw her not as the sum of her past mistakes, but as someone worthy of transformation, worthy of hope, worthy of being the first evangelist to her entire town. Her age, her history, none of it disqualified her from being used by God in a powerful way. So why do we believe the lie that our age disqualifies us from love? Why do we carry this burden that somehow we've missed our window, that we've expired, that our best days are behind us? I'll tell you why. Because the world profits from our insecurity. Because the culture we live in worships youth and treats aging like a disease instead of the gift that it is. Because social media shows us highlight reels of people who seem to have it all figured out at 23, and we compare our behind-the-scenes mess to their curated perfection. But that's not reality. That's not the full story. And more importantly, that's not God's story. When God looks at you, he doesn't see a number. He doesn't see too old or too late or not enough time left. He sees someone he created with purpose, someone he loves deeply, someone whose story is still being written. Psalm 139 tells us that all of our days were written in God's book before even one of them came to be. Think about that. Every single day of your life, including today, including tomorrow, including the days you think are wasted or lost, they were already known by God. He already made provision for them. He already had a plan for them. Which means this season you're in right now, this age you are right now, it's not a mistake. It's not a detour. It's part of the journey. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but I feel like I wasted so much time. Maybe you spent years in the wrong relationship. Maybe you were focused on your career and didn't prioritize love. Maybe you were healing from trauma, or raising kids alone, or taking care of aging parents, or just trying to survive. And now you look up and you're older than you planned to be, and you feel like you missed the boat. But here's what I want you to understand. Nothing you've been through has been wasted if you've learned from it. Every experience, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every season of waiting has been shaping you into the person you are today. And the person you are today is more prepared for real love than you've ever been before. You know yourself better now. You know what you will and won't tolerate. You know the difference between infatuation and genuine connection. You know how to communicate, how to set boundaries, how to love without losing yourself. These are things that only come with time, with experience, with age. You can't rush wisdom. You can't fake maturity. And the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that weathers storms and grows deeper with time, that kind of love requires two people who have done the work on themselves. Two people who understand that love is not just a feeling, but a choice, a commitment, a daily decision to honor and cherish another person even when it's hard. You couldn't have been ready for that love at 20, maybe not even at 30, but you might be ready now. And if you're not ready yet, God is still working on you, still preparing you, still refining you for what's ahead. Ecclesiastes 3 tells us there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to search and a time to give up searching, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Notice it doesn't say all of these things happen in your 20s. It doesn't put an age limit on any of these seasons. It just acknowledges that life is full of different chapters and each one has a purpose. Maybe you're in a season of searching right now, and that's okay. Maybe you're in a season of waiting, and that's okay too. Maybe you're in a season of healing, of rebuilding, of rediscovering who you are outside of a relationship, and that is exactly where you need to be. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't feel like it, especially when it doesn't feel like it. I've counseled so many people over the years who met the love of their life at 40, at 50, at 60, even at 70. And you know what they all say? They say, "I'm so glad I didn't meet them sooner." Because they know that if they had met earlier, it wouldn't have worked. They weren't ready. They hadn't healed from their past. They hadn't learned to love themselves yet. They hadn't become the person they needed to be to sustain that kind of relationship. One woman told me, "I spent my 30s being bitter about being single and my 40s learning to be whole on my own. When I met my husband at 52, I was finally ready to be a true partner, not someone looking for another person to complete me." That's the journey. That's the process. And age is not the enemy in that process. Age is the teacher. Age is the refiner. Age is what gives you the depth, the compassion, the patience, the grace that makes love beautiful instead of chaotic. But I also want to address something else, something that's harder to talk about but needs to be said. Some of you have internalized the world's message so deeply that you've started believing you're less valuable because of your age. You look in the mirror and you see wrinkles, gray hair, a body that doesn't look like it did 20 years ago, and you think, "Who would want me now?" And that breaks my heart because it's so far from the truth. Your value has never been in your appearance. Your worth has never been tied to your youth. You are made in the image of God, and that image doesn't fade with time. If anything, it becomes clearer, more refined, more evident as you grow and mature. Proverbs 31 talks about a woman of noble character, and it says charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That's not saying beauty doesn't matter. It's saying beauty fades, but character endures. It's saying that the things that truly make you attractive, the things that make you worthy of love, Those things don't diminish with age, they increase. Kindness, wisdom, compassion, faithfulness, integrity, the way you love others, the way you show up in the world, those are the things that matter, and those are the things that grow richer as you get older, not weaker. The right person, the person God has for you, they're not looking for perfection. They're not shopping for the youngest, most flawless option available. They're looking for someone real, someone who has lived, someone who has depth, someone who can walk with them through life's challenges with grace and strength. And that person is you. Right now, at whatever age you are, that person is you. But you have to believe it yourself first. You have to stop agreeing with the lies the world tells you. You have to stop letting society's obsession with youth steal your joy and confidence. You have to start seeing yourself the way God sees you, beloved, valuable, worthy.